I tell you what, that's a good clearance, you know. I just wish I didn't have this headache so I could fully appreciate the game. Maybe it's caused by this match graphic imprinted onto my face. A doctor's note said I can't be getting concussed, otherwise it'll lead to catastrophic brain calamity of nuclear proportion. Yeah, I think he's hit the stairs. Yo guys, it is your boy Earnin here, and you are watching FTW. This is of course the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst what football has to offer during the last 7 days. Once again, thank you guys for the support on the channel at the moment, really do appreciate it as always. And if there's ever been a time where you've missed FTW because YouTube is useless at pushing it these days, then make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and you won't miss a single one. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, allegedly in the UK, shoplifting is on the rise to an uncontrollable level. Yeah, I'm not surprised, mate. A Mars bar's fucking £1.20. Brighton commemorated this news by stealing off of Saudi Arabia, fleecing them of £90 million apparently for Kaoru Matoma, unless the Pro League are inspired by Aldi Swindon. All I'm saying is, if you see me leaving a shop with a new knee under my arm, don't ask any questions. Actually do, because if it's in that position, then I've probably broken it again. Now this week was all about Champions League football. The final match day of the group phase saw every game on at the same time on Wednesday night. We'd be scanning all over the place for this one. Carlos Poyle had a sensational setup, and I was struggling trying to watch Sturm Graz counter and Dinamo Zagreb defend a corner at the same time. One dad will have been left depressed after losing his mortgage and son's school savings in an acca in the first half. This is utter broke nonsense. I was loading up my last £3.50 into Bet365 for a Hail Mary 3.8 million to 1 bet, and that was just on Kai Havertz to get himself a goal. Gambling addicts across the land were seeing 18 games a line for one night only.
I was getting up in the morning betting on, you know, up the top of my head, Lithuanian under-20 basketball matches.
And having won absolutely nothing, we go again tonight for the Europa League. And it was a dramatic final night of Champions League action too. Manchester City were on the verge of elimination, needing to win versus Club Brugge to go through. So when the Belgian side went 1-0 up before half-time, Pep Guardiola could be seen sticking a meat cleaver through his own appendix. They were actually getting out-XG'd at the break as well, and Matheus Nunes looked like he'd been dropped off blindfolded at the game and needed to find his way home. With everything going on, Pep was trying to throw people off the scent of prejudice after watching a Nigerian player score against his side.
My kids go to the school with the different black people, from normal people, from everywhere.
Who am I kidding? His head was hot. And you know what else was hot? The car park outside the ground after a fire broke out at the Etihad. Eyebrows will have been raised when the club find burnt tax reports in the building, as there was some confusion amongst high-ranking officials there. Honestly, mate, I thought FFP stood for Fire and Flammability Prevention. Right. Unfortunately, though, for the average viewer, Man City did manage to make a comeback to spare their blushes thanks to Mateo Kovacic, an own goal, and Savinho. Now, trying to keep up with an acca on this evening was more difficult than Cole Palmer solving a Rubik's Cube.
What?
Cole will have been fuming seeing his mate Morgan Rogers use his celebration before him, as he scored a hat-trick to help Aston Villa beat Celtic. A big result for Villa and a huge moment for Rogers given where he was a year ago, and ultimately using a celebration that he actually coined first. Cole Palmer will have been still left at home gutted seeing all this going on. And swimming through that river of dribble was Kasper Schmeichel, clearly, who fancied using a backstroke to try and make a save. At least he's got his Frosties badge on lock. Arsenal did beat Girona, despite Raheem Sterling attempting to change that.
About to see the best of me.
This man is Raheem Pence at best, and unfortunately we need to see him at Queen's Park Rangers next season, and that's harsh on Queen's Park Rangers. He missed a penalty right at the end of this game, looking over to the bench, seeing himself on the touchline and saying, I want to play paddleball instead. It's a shame to see the last of the Bunda Brigade go out like this. Elsewhere, though, meanwhile, Neto was attempting to make a save outside of his own area. What a save! As for Liverpool and... well, Liverpool lost. No, lads, I swear, it didn't matter. We were already... Oh, how instantaneously irrelevant. Now, we'd already qualified top of the Champions League group, so we decided to play children, and PSV punished us. The forefathers of Cody Gakpo scoring late in the first half for a turnaround that saw youngster Amara Nalo get sent off in the 87th minute, just 4 minutes after coming off the bench and making his debut for the club. His heat map was cold. His highlights from the match, not all that great, not gonna lie to you. At Inter, Nicolo Barella managed to make some actual black magic happen against Monaco. This is genuinely disgusting. What are you talking about? But despite Monaco's loss, all League 1 teams managed to make it through the group stage. Maybe we might have to upgrade that Mackies. I'm not gonna lie to you. And over at Feyenoord in the Champions League, Gernot Trauner managed to become the first player to ever score 2 own goals in one game in the Champions League. And his centre-back partner added another one for good luck. Investigate both these men, honestly. How are you scoring more goals than your opponents and you're losing 6-1? I'd be fuming. Now, there were dramatic times in the Premier League as well, not gonna lie. Dramatic translating to depressing if you support Tottenham.
What happened, mate?
It were defeated by relegation zone inhabitants Leicester, and that silverware in the second season that Ange Postecoglou was promising is starting to look like it could be a Johnston Paint Trophy next season at this rate. Everton had no wins in 6, then played Spurs. Leicester had no wins in 7, then played Spurs. They're taking Dr. Tottenham, treating the poor to a whole new level. These lot are brain surgeons. Unfortunately, they're not conducting that medical attention on themselves at this point, however. Speaking of which, and Radu Dragusin might need a brain surgeon immediately. One Tottenham fan reminded Richarlison where his side were in the table. Richie replied saying, don't worry, he's going to be playing now, and he did his job, to be fair, scoring here, but he's accidentally collaterally scattergun cursed Tottenham as well. Jamie Vardy, of course, scored in this one against Spurs, you know the drill by now, and decided to point to the Premier League badge to remind Spurs fans that he'd won the title, whereas they haven't. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for Jamie. To be fair, it's bold to assume Leicester will be wearing one of those next season at all, but honestly, neither will Tottenham. He does not rate Spurs, and I absolutely love it. And honestly, Spurs fans don't rate Spurs either. More specifically than that, though, their chairman, with a banner about the amount of managers they've had during a long period with only one trophy, suggesting that Daniel Levy, it's time to leave. There's the news that Timo Werner may well be heading over to the MLS, but I'm sorry to break it to the German. You've got to actually be able to shoot if you want to go to America. Meanwhile, Spurs might actually be in a relegation battle at this point. They're going arse for arse with United. Two cheeks of the same batty. Now that's Kyle Walker's former team, and he's not doing too much better than Spurs are right now. He's headed over to AC Milan. After a poor spell of form at Manchester City, he's been ushered out, heading to the Italian side on loan with an option to buy. So just a loan. Milan's analyst will have his mind set already, just 3 minutes into the Englishman's debut.
The football's left him.
Do we really trust this man with the women of Italy as well? His personal trainer will have some words of warning when Kyle gets back home with 3 tubes of Viagra but not a condom in sight.
By all means enjoy it, but enjoy it by being fucking disciplined here.
He'll be playing in the back garden with his own children in Italy, and it'll look like secondary school lunchtime. He has to do his own parents' evenings. Just how crazy that is. And he'll be even more flabbergasted looking at the total amount he's got to pay for flights, getting all of his children over to Milan.
Fuck off. $2.5 grand.
Now, eyebrows were raised, I'm not gonna lie, when he conducted his first press conference as an AC player and hinted towards Man City's bad form as being a reason why he was going.
Obviously, things at Manchester City wasn't going too well, and I wasn't playing enough football of what I wanted to do.
You are the reason it was bad, brother. This is your fault. Him and Emerson Royale, by the way, as right-back options, should be punishable by NATO. Imagine being Sergio Conceição asked who he's actually going to play at right-back.
It's like having a choice of 2 blokes and nick your wife.
And Kyle chose the number 32 shirt, the amount of children that he's got. No, actually, for David Beckham, apparently. A shout out to a former Englishman who played for Milan, just without the Beckham ability. Elsewhere in the club that he left behind, won in his absence. Coincidence? I think not. Man City beat Chelsea 3-1 after Boko Haram Bob Sanchez tried to be the world's first inverted goalkeeper. Why are you there? He needs to... I want him investigated for crimes against humanity. He made 2 mistakes in this one. The second, charging out towards Erling Haaland before being dinked by the Norwegian. Probably the most fabled of the bunch. But he's got a track record for this, as Forest Green highlighted, after he spent a loan spell away from Brighton. Genuinely, his mistakes there, it's a wonder how he even made it to the Blues. He has to be Jamaican. His highlights are honestly just him going for a wonder halfway through this game. Enzo Fernandez reacted like this to one of his mistakes. This is someone who left his family for a team of the week reacting like this. You know you're in trouble. His mind was elsewhere, light-skin posing down by the halfway line instead of paying attention to a ball in behind.
Is it a colour thing? Is it a colour thing?
No, I'm deadly serious. He's the worst goalkeeper in the league. I'm not gonna lie. They should have Alexis Sanchez in goal before they have Robert Sanchez in goal. I want him to be a fugitive. This is jihad goalkeeping. He wasn't the only one who struggled though in this one. As Man City's new Uzbekistani centre-back Abdulkadir Kusanov made a mistake after just 3 minutes in this one, and Sky Sports were ripping into him from the jump. But listen, at the end of the day, I felt bad for him personally. He was thrusted in and young, a combination that's only ever really been used by Prince Andrew before. This guy, by the way, was born on a leap day, the 29th of February. This guy's like 5 years old. No wonder he struggled. Man City announced they're going to be doing fan calls soon. I can't wait for Robert, 57, calling up about Kyle Walker on his way out of the club.
You surprise me how shit you are.
Meanwhile, Danny Drinkwater was pictured in the Man City end, despite obviously being a former Chelsea player, because the club refused to give him free tickets. Brother, they gave you enough. A £35 million receipt doesn't need tickets on there as well. Meanwhile, for a current Chelsea midfielder, and Enzo Fernandez has been in hot water recently, but there's reports now that he's trying to make things work with his wife, and he got a shocking rating immediately. Now, obviously, it's good that he's back with his kids and all that, but a sofa score rating is a pretty important thing, you know. Divorced Enzo will be talked about by historians. And probably by divorce lawyers, realistically. And Arsenal versus Wolves, though, and we got some serious controversy. After Miles Lewis-Skelly was sent off for seemingly tripping over Matt Doherty in his own half. Now, usually this would be seen as just a tactical foul, a clear yellow card, not really going for the ball, just stopping a counter-attack. But Michael Oliver decided to give this as a straight red because he perceived that Miles' foot had been a tiny bit too high. I'll be honest, there's a slight bit of contact with his shin, like slight. But honestly, this is a crazy decision and it has now been rescinded. What the heck was going through their minds, though, when they gave this decision? I'll be honest, Michael, mate, his name's too long. I can't concentrate. Get him off. Michael Oliver had a sudden realization, discovering he could have his name in lights with a big decision here.
This whole thing, all of this, it's all about me.
Meanwhile, Dermot Gallagher, I'm sure, will be happy to defend him over on Sky. Look, to be fair, I've got to feel sorry for Michael in this situation. It's a really borderline decision. If Lewis-Skelly's foot had been a little bit higher, and he'd gone in with any kind of intent, and he'd had his studs showing properly, and he'd lunged in off the ground, and, I don't know, he'd thrown a grenade at his left cheek or something. Meanwhile, elsewhere, and David Coote is in the news, coming out as gay with an exclusive interview with The Rag.
Today I feel gay.
Arsenal fans reckon it's to distract from Lewis-Skelly's red card.
But it's not sort of relevant, is it?
Well, for me, I'm happy that he's comfortable with himself now. It's good for him. I do feel bad because ultimately he's lost his career for something pretty stupid. But then again, he's done an interview with The Sun to try and apologise to Liverpool fans. So, he's a fucking idiot, actually, thinking about it. Now, United Fulham was getting gassed up before kickoff, but Lisandro Martinez's clash versus Adama Traore. A matchup that would lead to a death if it was in UFC. But because Adama Traore has the final third decision-making of a zebra crossing, it's fairly even in the game of football. Now, this obviously started because of their clash the last time Fulham faced off against United, in which Adama Traore took to Insta to tell Lisandro that he'd see him again very soon. The man's built like a shed. I was very concerned for Lisandro. This is what actually happened in terms of footballing ability for his performance versus unknown from Buenos Aires. It didn't stop Adama from posting on Insta with a picture of him walking away from a car crash that was Lisandro on the floor, to which Manuel Ugarte replied with him absolutely clamping the Spaniard in a tackle later on. And to be honest, I actually rate that from him. Andre Nana wasn't getting involved in all those shenanigans, though. He was focusing on his actual job, organising a free kick about 95 yards away from where he should have been. He thinks he's the manager, bro. What are you doing? What kind of expertise can you offer in this situation? To be fair, he'd probably be better up front than Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. Sky Sports asking what they actually did versus Fulham, which is hilarious. Rasmus Højlund's performance, not the greatest, honestly, when we look at his highlights. Lisandro has more shots than him this season. Lisandro is a centre-back. Højlund is a striker. How does that happen? A Fugazi striker, honestly. Meanwhile, after the game, and one fan caught Jim Ratcliffe in the car park after.
66 quid.
66 fucking quid.
66
quid, mate. 66 fucking quid, mate. What are you doing, mate?
Sort the
We're
fans
Northerners. Come on,
Sort
mate.
the
Sort it
fans
out.
out.
If Fulham selling for
Fucking
66
worse than the
quid,
Glazers,
we
mate.
take...
Yeah, this is a crazy interaction. No, I can't lie. Jim will be absolutely fuming, realising he's got to pay a parking ticket for this one, with how harsh he is with his money. Ruben Amorim will be trying to sign a player on deadline day, but Jim used the transfer budget to send to the DVLA for double yellows.
Oh shit! Yo, give me one second, man. Relax, man. Let's negotiate, man.
But speaking of Ruben Amorim transfer-wise, there's one man he wants to get out of the door, and that's Marcus Rashford. This week, suggesting that he'd rather play his 62-year-old goalkeeper over anyone, Marcus Rashford, who didn't want to put their full 100% in. To be honest with you, I've compared the stats, and it might actually be in favour of the goalkeeping coach. This is a violation, man. He's saying Clarence starts over you. Yeah, say less, man. Marcus will be arriving to Carrington, confused seeing a man with a bionic pelvis is up top in rondos instead of him. Mark, it might be time to go to uni, because this is an assassination of character. Actually, it's just an assassination. Meanwhile, and criminally, in a 3 p.m. kickoff, Bournemouth faced off against Forest and slapped the side third in the table 5-0. These lot think they're prime AC Milan at the moment. Dango Ouattara spawned and just scored a random hat-trick in this one, and this is the Clivert that's turned up for Bournemouth over the last couple of months. Antoine Semenyo got himself on a score sheet and celebrated like Booker T. Meanwhile, it wasn't all smiles for one Cherries supporter, a young kid missing out on Milos Kerkez's shirt. Yeah, this is diabolical. Now, Everton got the better of Brighton elsewhere, and Iliman Ndiaye scored, only to celebrate like a seagull to take the piss out of Brighton. It's a shithousery award for the Senegalese star, only for him to get a yellow card for inciting the crowd. The game is absolutely gone if this is a yellow. Oh, fuck it. You know what we're doing? We're booking everyone for every celebration, you fucking wassies. Brentford beat Crystal Palace in a game where Brian Mbeumo scored a penalty. Yohan Wisse's strike partner celebrating before the goal had even gone in. This is a great distraction tactic. Unreal belief. Meanwhile, back at Fulham, and it was almost disaster for Rodrigo Muniz, who slipped over at training and almost completely destroyed his ACL. I don't care if it's a bad ACL injury, you'd have to retire if this actually happened to you. Meanwhile, there's sad news, and that is that John Duran, aka John Duran, is leaving the Premier League. The ultimate chaos baller is heading to Saudi Arabia and Al Nassr. Do you think this man, with his crippling ADHD, can speak any Arabic whatsoever? He'll be falling apart during his initiation.
See you soon.
As I said, this is sad to see a chaos baller go in an era of increasing staleness. He's obviously got to do it for his family. He's going to be earning like 400k a week or something ridiculous. But a 21-year-old up-and-coming, exciting striker going to play in a retirement home basically is pretty sad to see. One man swapping England for Spain though, rather than Saudi Arabia, is Antony. Unfortunately for Spain. He's arrived, by the way, at Real Betis at the same age as Ronaldo was when he went to Real. And it's starting to make sense. I told you about some Antony statistics recently. This man's never lost a game that he's won. He's special for real. In a different way to what you were expecting. And based on that, he actually got the worst announcement video of all time over on Twitter.
Aquí estoy yo.
It's really fitting though, to be honest. Awful player, awful announcement. That first sheet of paper worth the same amount as him. Have you ever seen a manual PowerPoint in your life before? There's no highlights of the guy for a video, so they've had to use still images instead. But having said all of that, after a pretty poor run of form, Real Betis won their first game against Mallorca 1-0 after the Brazilian arrived. This is not coincidence. Speaking of wins, a slightly bigger one for Barcelona as they battered Valencia 7-1. This one was 5-0 at half-time, and it had Gary Neville sweating seeing the scoreline. Lamine Yamal was on smoke again. This kid is, I mean, he's so special in it. He absolutely rinsed a couple of Valencia defenders. The reaction of his teammates, priceless. They've now scored 101 goals in all competitions this season, and it's still January. Meanwhile, for French centre-back Mukhtar Diakabe, it was his first game back at Valencia after a year out with a knee injury, and honestly, he probably was still wishing he was injured again in this game. Meanwhile, at Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti was meeting an old Los Blancos faithful. Better say Luka Modric forgot to put on his moisturiser this month. Meanwhile, at Deportivo Alaves, their fans were protesting games being played on a Monday. Gario Nevillo on El Monday El Football was getting absolutely violated.
I've just been called a melt. Thanks for that.
But honestly, not working on a Monday? Fair enough, man. I hear it. I'm the same, bro. And last week I told you about the story of a Nigerian trialist, an amateur footballer who wanted to go on trial at Sevilla. Sevilla gave him a task of 100,000 retweets, to which he managed to achieve it. And so he got given his trial, flown over to Spain. In Italy, an AC Milan came back with a last-minute 3-2 win. 2 goals in injury time, sparking Samuel Chukwueze scenes. But there were some more sparks flying between Sergio Conceição and his defender Davide Calabria, as they had to be pulled apart after an altercation at full time. You've just come back to win, by the way, and you're scrapping your own defender. That pretty much sums up Conceição, actually. Juventus finally lost for the first time this season, as Napoli came back from 1-0 down to beat them to stay top of the league. And realistically, this was for the best, wasn't it, really? We can't, as an institution, allow a team to go invincible and finish 6th. Over at Napoli, and Giovanni Simeone is putting his life on the line, putting his head in for a tackle, quite literally. At Fiorentina, and there was some unfortunate placement of a t-shirt being tucked into some shorts for a mascot. But then again, this is Italy, so that's actually probably intentional. And over at Roma, well, not quite, but Roman legend Daniele De Rossi has saved his boyhood club from bankruptcy. Before he went to Roma, he was a youth player at a side in the 4th division, and after going through financial troubles, he's decided to buy the club and steer them to safety. Lovely stuff. Truly beautiful. Over in Germany, and Jeremy Frimpong was deep in thought. Bayer Leverkusen asked him what was going on, and the Dutch international said he was wondering if he'd taken the chicken out of the freezer. At Frankfurt, and we've got a crazy long hot dog here, available for like €4. That's mad. Yo, where is this hot dog, by the way? For like educational purposes, obviously, like to eat that thing. And down in the Bundesliga, Zwei, probably the most ridiculous league in the world. These lot get about 60,000 like people in attendance for some games, for like Hamburg and Schalke in the 2nd division. But it took an even bigger step to being a weird league, as Magdeburg, who are top with not a single home win to their name. Yet all of their 8 wins have come away, and yet they're still top. I don't really know what's going on over there. At PSG, and their season has really been about Ousmane Dembele returning to form, and probably the continued emergence of Bradley Barcola, who this week explained why he wears the number 29 shirt. It's because he loved Alex Hunter. Bruv, I am so old. I'm like 5 years older than kids who are Wonder Kids inspired by Alex Hunter explosion thumbnails. He might have seen my video. And down in League, the Bastia's boss completely lost his head, kicking out and dragging an opponent's attacker off the pitch because he thought he was feigning injury. You can't get away with this lad. A complete brawl broke out afterwards, and I'm guessing he got himself sent off. Forget watching the next game from the stands. He's watching that from the penitentiary. Now there is time for your goals of the week, and we've got more beauties for you. We stay actually in France for the first one and head over to Monaco, where youngster Magnès Acluge is having a wonderful season. He might get poached pretty soon, no doubt through acrobatics and athleticism like he showed off with this bicycle kick effort. Next up though, we're heading to Saudi Arabia for one of their current stars, Riyad Mahrez. And you might be confused on the face of it as to why I'm including a goal that's just been lumped forward by Edouard Mendy, but this touch from Riyad Mahrez to get it away from a defender is beautiful, and then with his second touch blasting it in past the goalkeeper. That is one of the best touches I've ever seen in full running motion. But finally, well, we stay in the Middle East with Julian Draxler. Remember the name. Things maybe didn't work out in Europe as they should have done, but he is still scoring beautiful goals with this absolutely unreal bicycle kick. Hello all and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty.
Tony Júnior pela direita, chegou Monson, bateu cruzado, olha o gol!
He's bloody missed it! What a prat!
And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now in Brazil, and the Saudi Arabian experiment is over for Neymar, who is heading back to his boyhood club Santos on a 6-month deal. He officially milked Al Hilal dry, bro. 5 games and a trophy. This is a real-life Robin Hood story. There was an emotional welcome back for the Brazilian. They'll be emotional for different reasons when he plays a combined total of 64 minutes for the club this season. This man is back with Latinas, like in the local area. This is about to be explosive. He's got Tinder desktop downloaded and ready to go. Now in Belgium, and it's the story of Radja Nainggolan. On the face of it, not a crazy story. Again, another homecoming. He's returned to the 2nd division, where in his first game, he scored an Olympico goal directly from a corner. Unbelievable stuff. Genuinely a really, really top quality player and a model citizen.
What the fucking hell's happening?
Yeah, he was arrested for cocaine distribution the same week, like the next day. He scored directly from a corner, but the game was supposed to be postponed. He had to get rid of all that snow that fell before kickoff somehow. He has to be the first player to ever score Olympico and then get done for cocaine distribution in the same week, right? In Saudi Arabia, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored a brace for Al Qadsiya. Honestly, the more impressive thing here is that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is in Saudi Arabia. When did that happen? Have I missed something? What the heck? And elsewhere at Al Nassr, their goalkeeper is seeing some brilliant talent join the club. Kaoru Mitoma may well be joining them too, and he's clearly read the Japanese winger's thesis on dribbling ability. It's just a shame he didn't get to the conclusion where it says that goalkeepers shouldn't attempt to dribble out from the back. In Turkey, and Jose Mourinho's been a little bit confused. Meanwhile, elsewhere at Galatasaray, and Victor Osimhen will be pretty confused as well when he finds out he's getting marked by 5 men at a corner every single set piece. This doesn't seem practical. There's other players that aren't Osimhen that are surely now just gonna have an uncontested aerial. Forget about it, whatever. Meanwhile, up in Scotland, and if you thought referees in the Premier League and even in the EFL were bad, Scottish refs really actually take things to a whole new level. Like, they make decisions that physically you don't even understand what they've seen, as was the case here when Mohamed Diamande was sent off for Rangers for being shoved by a player from Dundee United. Yeah, no, I don't understand either. But at least something happened in that game, unlike closer to home at Leeds versus Burnley, where there was quite literally no shots by the 85th minute. Do you understand how crazy that is? Do you know how mad it is to not have accidentally had a shot? No goal kicks all game. Nobody even once tried to bang it from distance. That's pathetic. Ban them from playing for a game, because that's actually mental. The TikTok highlights were pretty brief, not gonna lie. Meanwhile, Leeds' admin resorted to really trying his best to make things seem interesting over on Twitter before just giving up and posting pictures of random players. Elsewhere at Bolton, and we've got a policeman who's really focusing on his job by playing fantasy football instead. Honestly, fair enough, man. I'd be doing the same. At Stoke, and things were getting pretty triple X over there. Jamie Cumming in a box, bro.
What the fucking...
Meanwhile, at a Watford women, there was the worst refereeing I've ever seen in my life. A player for Watford frustrated that where she needed to take a corner, it was waterlogged, so she decided to try and bin the corner flag, get it out of the way so she could actually take a full run up for the set piece. The referee, clearly not happy with that, walked away and then decided to just send her off, give her a straight. I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing. Then later on, sent someone off, give her a straight red for kicking the ball away. Probably check the bank account, to be honest with you. Elsewhere, we've got a set of stewards that have found a bee's nest. Their attempts to solve the situation down at the corner flag not going too well. Be careful, the last referee will give you a red card for that one. There were probably a few red cards getting dished out in Brazil. No real surprise there, as Coritiba faced off against Paralense, and the scrap that ensued was, yeah, not. Yeah, they were just there. I don't even know if a game happened. I think they just met up to have a brawl. Some teeth getting knocked out there, but there's no concern to that at Bakar Juniors with this set of dentures on display. Meanwhile, in Algeria, a player called Bulbina had the most interesting celebration of the week, getting the clown mask out. Now, though, it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football, and this time around, we've got some shithousery that's backfired dramatically. Now, we've got a wall that's been set up here to defend a free kick. They're trying to do their best, the absolute utmost, to throw off the man who's about to take the set piece. The problem is they did all of that. They, forgot to do their actual job and, block the ball in the wall. So, on to the weird stuff, though, now. This time, the weird stuff is revolving around managers, because first of all, we head over to Thailand, and we head to Thai League 1 club Uthai Thani. Their manager is Milos Joksic, and he's gonna have to spend some time on the sidelines. This isn't exactly unusual though for a manager, so what has happened? That's strange. Well, it turns out he had a heated disagreement on their club's training ground with one of his players, right back James Beresford, who then kicked the ball at his manager during the altercation and managed to break the ankle of his boss. Now, you would expect really that James would have left the club or been suspended maybe. Nope, he then started the next game. Maybe the rest of the players would have done the same thing, who knows. But finally, we've got the confusing but pretty sad tale right now, a Rigobert Song. Dad of Alex Song, who's just taken charge of the Central African Republic, except the Football Federation of the Central African Republic didn't want him. Yeah, it turns out that he's been hired by basically someone from the government instead, so like a minister for youth, sports and PE. I don't know how the Minister for Physical Education has hired the manager of, imagine a PE teacher hiring the next England manager, by the way. Absolutely crazy stuff, but either way, the Football Federation disagree with the decision. He's been unveiled, but now more than a week later, still hasn't received a contract from the FA. And when it came to deciding their next squad for international break, he wasn't the man who did it. It was their caretaker manager instead. Disharmony clearly for Song. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.